So a man in Utah walks into a car dealership with $4,000 in his pocket, and a few hours later he has personally done almost $86,000 in property damage to that very same dealership. Same man, one afternoon. But we will get to him, because he is comfortably the finest inductee into today's Car Owner Hall of Shame, which is precisely why he is going last. Now, we already know that car dealerships can be rigged, but today is about 5 geniuses who walked straight into a supposedly rigged dealership, and then, rather than read the fine print, decided that the more sensible course of action was to enter an alternate universe. There are 5 of them, and each one is a little more impressive than the last. A quick note before we begin. These are reenactments of real sales floor stories, with the names and the details changed, inspired by true events. The behavior, sadly, is exactly as real as it sounds. We will start, gently, at number 5. Number 5. The one who priced his own wreck. This one made the rounds online recently. Number 5 drives onto a used car lot to sell his car, and right away, you can tell you are in the presence of a serious financial mastermind. The car is 19 years old with 120,000 miles on the clock, the check engine light switches itself on and off whenever the mood takes it, and the air conditioning appears to have taken early retirement. So the salesman does the responsible thing and pulls the vehicle history report, where he learns that this particular car has survived 7 separate accidents, which means it has lived a fuller and more eventful life than most of the people watching this video. The dealer offers him $1,600, which, for a 2-decade-old sedan with 7 wrecks and a warning light that comes and goes like a house guest, is frankly an act of charity. And our seller asks for $9,000. He has, somewhere inside his own private economy, arrived at a pricing model in which every accident a car survives makes it worth more rather than less. As though the dents are service stripes, and he is selling a decorated war veteran rather than a liability on wheels. When the salesman gently offers to show him the real retail numbers, our genius does the one thing you can always count on a man like this to do, which is to take deep and lasting personal offense. Not at the 7 accidents, you understand, but at the salesman, for having the appalling manners to mention them out loud. And so he drives away insulted, still the proud owner of a $1,000 car he is convinced is worth 9, having harmed precisely no one except his own afternoon, which, believe it or not, makes him the single most stable and well-adjusted human being in this entire video. Our list does not stay that civilized for very long. Number 4, the one whose car was folded in. This next one was caught on a dealership lot and posted to social media. Number 4 had recently bought himself a Ford Escape, and then number 4 went out drinking. He is very keen to point out that he was not the one driving. A friend was driving. And we are going to grant him that, because it is comfortably the most responsible decision anybody makes anywhere in this story. The next morning he walks outside, takes one look at his Escape, and discovers that it is, in his own immortal phrasing, folded in. Now, you and I hear a description like that, and we immediately picture a car that has been in a fairly serious accident, but our scholar does not make that particular leap. He calls the salesman, and he simply will not accept that a car being folded in and a car being in an accident might possibly be the very same event. The salesman asks him, about as gently as a man can ask anything, whether he had perhaps been in a collision, and he replies that he honestly could not say, because the only fact he is willing to commit to is that the vehicle is folded in. This goes around in circles a genuinely remarkable number of times, with him describing the damage as though it were a mild weather system that had quietly settled over the car during the night. Then comes the actual request, and it really is a thing of beauty. He does not want to file an insurance claim, and he does not especially want the car repaired either. What he would like is for the dealership to simply hand him a brand new vehicle, free of charge, on the grounds that his current one is folded in. And when it is patiently explained to him that this is not, in any known universe, how car ownership functions, he makes the final and most heartfelt request of his morning, whether the salesman might come and collect him in person and drive him to the grocery store. So let us tally it all up. He has wrapped a car around something he cannot identify, he refuses to involve insurance, he expects a free replacement as a matter of principle, and he now requires a chauffeur to go and buy his groceries. Number 4 is not angry, and he is not even particularly upset. Number 4 is simply broadcasting, live and uninterrupted, from a reality the rest of us are not cleared to enter. Number 3, unfortunately for everyone involved, has access to the internet. Number 3, the one who listened to Reddit. This one also did the rounds online. Number 3 bought himself a Ford F-150 with the 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, and number 3, crucially, reads Reddit. And somewhere in the deep and trusted halls of Reddit, he learned that a man can take a turbocharger built by General Motors and bolt it into a Ford engine, and that doing so rewards him with a glorious extra 10 horsepower. A complete stranger had said as much on the internet, and for our master mechanic, that was all the peer review the project required. So he does it. He takes the General Motors part, introduces it to the Ford engine, and the engine responds in the only way a self-respecting engine can, which is to immediately and comprehensively destroy itself. And I want to be very clear that this is the single most rational decision made by any party, human or mechanical, anywhere in this story. A reasonable man, at this exact moment, quietly closes his laptop and carries the secret with him to the grave. Our engineer instead picks up the phone and calls the dealership in a towering rage, informs the salesman that he knows where he works, and demands that the dealership not only refund the truck, but also, and this is the masterstroke, reimburse him for the General Motors turbo. The turbo that he chose, that he bought, that he personally installed, and that detonated his own engine. His reasoning, as far as anyone has been able to reconstruct it, runs like this. The dealership sold him the truck, and the dealership is therefore responsible for whatever he later decided to do to that truck. And when the salesman gently points out that he is, in fact, the man who fitted the wrong part, our scholar produces his closing argument, which is that Reddit had personally assured him that if the modification went badly, he could simply return the whole thing to the dealer. That is not a lemon. A lemon is a car that fails entirely on its own. This was a perfectly healthy truck that a grown man converted into a hand grenade, using the considered guidance of a stranger before attempting to post the pin to a salesman. He destroyed his own property and then tried to invoice somebody else for the privilege, which is at the very least ambitious. But do notice that he only managed to destroy something that belonged to him. Number 2 went out and destroyed several things that belonged to other people. Number 2, the one who stole the tow truck. Number 2 had fallen behind on the payments for his black Chevy Silverado, which is a thing that happens to perfectly good people in a hard economy, and on its own earns no mockery from me whatsoever. So, on a September afternoon in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, back in 2024, the lender does the ordinary lawful thing and sends out a tow truck. The repossession driver hooks up the Silverado, and he starts to pull away on what should have been the most forgettable afternoon in New York. And our number 2 decides, on the spot, that this will simply not be happening today. So he climbs up into the tow truck itself, the repossession vehicle, the one with his own pickup already chained to the back of it, and he drives away in it. He steals the tow truck that is, at that very moment, in the act of towing his truck, which I think we can all agree displays a certain creativity. And then, because a staircase like this one only ever runs in a single direction, he crashes it. He plows the stolen tow truck straight into a row of parked cars, and in the process, he manages to flip his own pickup over into the street, the very pickup that this entire operation had been launched to rescue. He began that afternoon owing a few payments on a truck, which is a problem you can solve with money. He ended it having wrecked a stranger's tow truck, written off several parked cars that had nothing to do with anything, destroyed the truck he was trying to save, and collected 11 separate criminal charges along the way. He took a missed car payment, which you settle with a check, and skillfully promoted it into a felony, which you settle with a lawyer. Which brings us, at long last, to our final and finest inductee. Number 1, the man in Utah, and his $4,000. Number 1, the one who kept his word. Number 1 buys a used Subaru for $4,000 on an ordinary Monday morning in Sandy, Utah, back in December of 2024. And yes, he buys that Subaru from a Mazda dealership, which is a small miracle all of its own. The car is sold to him as is, a fact he was told plainly and out loud before a single dollar ever changed hands. The dealership had actually gone to the trouble of telling him in advance that the car needed some work, and all of this is written down on paperwork that he himself signed, because as is means the deal is finished the moment you drive off the lot. A few hours later he is back, having decided that the car is a lemon, and he would now like his $4,000 returned to him. Here is the detail that quietly secures him first place in this competition. The dealership does not stonewall the man at all. By their own account, they are actively trying to work something out with him. Bring the car back, let us talk it through. We genuinely do not want you sitting in a vehicle you cannot stand. There is a path available here, a calm and deeply boring path that ends with everybody going home perfectly fine and nobody at all wearing handcuffs. He elects not to take that path. Instead, he stands in the middle of the showroom demanding a refund that has already been gently declined. And then he announces to the assembled staff, clearly and well in advance, exactly what he intends to do about it, which is to drive the car straight through the front of their building. And every employee in the room does the only sensible thing left available to them, which is to step well back from the doors because they have taken one good look at this man and concluded that he is entirely serious. They are, it turns out, completely correct. He walks outside, lowers himself into the $4,000 Subaru, and drives it directly through the front of the dealership, through the glass, through the doors, into the showroom, coming at last to a gentle and dignified stop, more or less exactly where the reception desk used to be. The damage to the building comes to almost $86,000. His reward for the performance is a second-degree felony, with a couple of smaller charges keeping it company. And the car, naturally, is still his, because it has not gone anywhere at all. It is simply indoors now. So, let us settle the final account the way we have settled every other one. He walked in wanting $4,000 back, and he walked out having converted that $4,000 into an $86,000 hole, a felony record, a pending lawsuit, and a car that he still owns and can no longer drive, on the technicality that it is now parked inside a building. Somebody in the comments did manage to find the single genuine silver lining, which is that the safety rating on that Subaru must be absolutely outstanding, because it went straight through a brick wall and barely picked up a scratch. And in all fairness to the man, he did do exactly what he said he would do. He told them he was going to put that car through the wall, and whatever else history records about him, he is undeniably a man of his word. And there you have it, 5 worthy inductees into the Car Owner Hall of Shame. There are, of course, valuable lessons to be drawn from these 5 fine gentlemen. Important, timeless lessons, such as the discovery that we are all members of the same human race, and yet some of us are clearly living in entirely separate universes, each one running on its own private physics and its own creative pricing. And the only truly decent thing to do, when a traveler from one of these distant dimensions arrives demanding $9,000 for a bumper car, is to nod warmly, wish him a safe journey home, and quietly step back from the doors. Finance told through data. Money by numbers. Money by Numbers exposes how the system is actually rigged. No courses, no newsletter, no portfolio to sell you. If that is the kind of personal finance channel you are after, then subscribe. The next case file drops next week.